Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. thanks for having me, Puya.
No worries. I'm honored that I have you on my channel. I'm sure we all are. We all love you deeply. Roger Clark and Arthur Morgan.
Thank you. I was one thing that I wasn't anticipating, actually. You know, I know that gamers are all over the planet, but you know, I've never been a part of something so big as Red Dead Redemption 2. And well, when it came out, I really all of the amazing fans from the Middle East and especially Iran, all the outpouring of love that just came out across social media and whatnot, I really did not expect, and it was such a lovely thing to get. The fact that there's fans of Red Dead everywhere, and that, you know, people from all around the globe resonated with the story. That means so much, man. It's really cool.
Yes, sir. It's because you did your job so well that you and Rockstar, we didn't have a choice but to fall in love with the character of Arthur Morgan and the game itself.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, working for Rockstar was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Very talented bunch of people.
Yes, sir.
I worked for it was a long time, too. That was 5 years. Can you believe that?
5 years. Oh, so the game took 8 years, right? But for you, it was just 5 years.
I believe so. Yes, I believe the designers and the engineers, they were at it quite a while before I came on board. Yeah, but still, yeah, absolutely, you're right.
Okay. First things first. How did you land the role of Arthur Morgan? Tell us everything, please.
So, well, I had done video games before. I had done voices on them. I had done performance and motion capture on them too before. So my agent, she knew that I was interested in that sort of thing. So she saw a breakdown come through her office, and there wasn't a lot of details attached to it. It didn't say Rockstar, it didn't say Red Dead Redemption 2. It just said it was a video game. I think Take-Two might have been mentioned, but I'm not sure. That's the parent company of Rockstar. But she asked me if I wanted to go in for the audition. I said, yes, of course, you know. You always go in for the audition. And this one was a little bit unusual because we didn't get any of the lines or sides, as we say, in advance. So when I showed up to the audition, that's when we got the actual scene. So that's what you call reading blind, you know, when you don't have time to prepare. And some people do that on purpose because they want to see how you think on your feet and how quickly you can, you know, get off the page and what have you. So I did that, and we talked a little bit about my previous performance capture experience. And I remember it was not from the script was not from Red Dead Redemption 2, but it was something very Arthur-y, or what would become Arthur-y. They wanted me to be some Western cowboy type, walking into a bar, and I start chatting with the bartender. And, you know, it was just being casual and friendly. And at the end of the conversation, I said, well, I got to kill you now because somebody put a price on your head. Sorry about that, partner. And that was the first audition. And as you do, you finish your audition, you walk out, and like most actors, you just forget about it because you have to, because you probably haven't booked the job. You know, you only book maybe 2 or 3% of what you go in for. And so months later, I'm doing a theater gig down in Florida, and my agent calls me, and she says, oh, they actually want you to come in. And I was like, oh, no. And she's like, yeah, I know. You're all the way down in Florida. So I said, oh, I'll have to pass. And that was it. I thought, you know, I missed my chance. But then about a month or two later, they checked in again, and this time I was available. And that's when I went into Rockstar Games, the main office in New York City, and I chatted with the director, Rod Edge, and they filmed me walking for a bit, and they told me to show up in cowboy boots, specifically because they wanted to see how I walked in cowboy boots. And then after that, we went to the volume a couple of weeks later, and we worked for a couple of days on it, just doing bits and bobs, and then about maybe 6 months later, I was offered the contract for what by then I had finally realized was the sequel to Red Dead Redemption, and they wanted me to play the next playable character. I had already played Red Dead Redemption, so I almost had a heart attack, you know, because I was like, how am I going to fill John Marston's shoes? I have no idea.
Okay, so you were familiar with the Red Dead games before your audition?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Have you played both of them? three of them? The three of them?
I've never played Revolver. I've never played Red Dead Revolver, although I have watched a playthrough on YouTube. But I played Red Dead Redemption a lot. I played it before I even had the audition, before I even knew about the sequel. I played it, and I loved it. It was kind of my return to video games in a way, because I was a massive gamer when I was young, and when I graduated college, I kind of stopped because I too busy and whatnot. But then at about like maybe 12 years later, I started playing again, and Red Dead Redemption was one of the first games I returned to in gaming. That and Skyrim, because I love open world sandbox stuff. Yeah. And so I played Red Dead Redemption, and spoilers, but when John Marston died at the end, I had never experienced that in a game before, and I genuinely thought that I had made a mistake, so I was trying to go back, like so many people were, trying to go back to a previous save point, and then I finally cheated and went on the internet, and I went, oh no, that's actually how it's supposed to happen. Oh, okay. And I just fell in love with it. It was an amazing game. Yeah, huge, massive fan. And then I played it a lot whilst we were making Red Dead 2 and GTA 5. I was playing a lot of Rockstar games while we were working on it, because you just want to do your research and kind of get the gist of how the mechanics work and everything.
Nice. So it was a dream come true for you.
Yeah, in a ways, I mean, I love working, and I love challenging new forms of work, and that's one of the things I love about performance capture, because it's this evolving medium I find the potential in it just to be massive, and to be able to watch the technology develop within the time period that I've been exposed to it, and see how all the freedoms that affords the performers is really awesome. I think it's fascinating, and I love storytelling in video games too,
Yes, sir. It's much more effective than movies, in my opinion. Movies and series and books, even. Yeah, I think so. It's more immersive. You're in the story. You're not a passive spectator, but an actual participant. Yeah, exactly. So, what kind of games would you like to have a role in the future?
Oh, anything story-driven. Absolutely. Anything story-driven. I love open-world sandbox games because that's what I probably have most experience in. Before Red Dead 2, all of my performance capture experience was in a lot of shoot-em-ups, like first-person shooters and what have you. And that's awesome too, but anything that's got a very rich and entertaining story, I'm all on board for, and I'd like to do as many different genres as possible.
You worked on Shell Shock 2, right? How was that experience different from Red Dead Redemption 2?
Oh, wow. Well, the technology wasn't as developed. I remember that. It was a little bit slower because, as we were doing the motion capture for that, things would take longer, for the sensors to log on to our balls on the suits, etc. That took a significantly longer time, and, we didn't have as much freedom as a result of that. But, that was done in England and I remember our director was an Irish fella by the name of Des Ford. And for those who don't know, it's zombies in the Vietnam War, and then you're just shooting everyone. And I played a guy called Sergeant Griffin, who actually sounds a little bit like Arthur. He's a little bit of a precursor to Arthur, I guess. And that was fun. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, the technology was much more limiting then than when I started on Red Dead 2, absolutely.
How long were you working on that one?
Shell Shock 2 was not even a month. It was like a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And most of it was in the volume, and then maybe one session in the booth, a booth like this, where we were just picking up on some of Sergeant Griffin's lines. But then I was lots of other things too. I was lots of zombies and just bullet fodder, like most first-person shooters.
Yeah, what's the difference between a volume and a booth? For those who don't know. So
this is like a sound booth, so it's good for acoustics, it's good for the voice, you do voice acting. This is perfect for voice acting. You hear my van, but I can turn that down. So this is where if you wanted to record just lines, this is the perfect environment. But the volume is what we basically call the stage in a performance capture set. The volume is basically anywhere where the sensors can pick you up if you're suited up in the performance capture, motion capture suits. So anywhere in the volume is anywhere where the cameras are reading you whilst you're doing performance capture. And performance capture, typically, in my definition of it anyways, is when voice, motion, and face is being recorded simultaneously. And you're doing a scene much like you would in theater or film. You learn your lines and you act out the scene. The only difference is the set is just scaffolding and pipes, and your costume is just spandex with balls on it. And you don't actually know what the environment you're working in is, unless, of course, you have a very talented and generous animator, and then they'll show you a computer screen, and then they'll go, that's where this is now, and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, this is a sound booth for voice acting, and the volume on the performance capture stage is, I guess you could just call it acting. But in some cases, it's just motion, too. Sometimes that's where the stunt guys do all their work, too, you know?
What was your best memory from working on the set of Red Dead Redemption 2?
Oh, wow. There were a lot, you know? So many. My favorite bits, though, were... You know, we worked on it for 5 years, which is unusual to work on a video game project for that length of time. And it got to the point where the actors, the actors who were playing all the characters in the gang, we had been working together for so long and got to know each other so well that we were very much like a gang ourselves. So whenever we were filming the whole gang, those were great days, because that's when all the actors got to get together and work together and laugh together. And stuff like when you bring Jack back from rescuing him from Bronte. Yeah. You know, when you have that big party, I think is in and around that mansion in the bayou. That was awesome. Shady Belle, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And another big one is when Sean comes back. You know, when you rescue Sean, a lot of the gang party scenes were wonderful, wonderful memories. But another really good one I liked was, I don't know if you remember, there's early on, I think it's shortly after you meet Trelawney for the first time, you have an option to go fishing with Dutch and Hosea.
Yeah.
And then you're singing along in that boat.
There's a couple of songs there.
So I remember myself and Benjamin Byron Davis, who plays Dutch, and Curzon Dobell, who plays Hosea Matthews, we were practicing those songs and we were singing together, and you know, and by that point we had been working together for about 4 years. So I remember doing that bit especially. It was a lot of fun too.
Okay. How long did it take to record that whole scene?
The singing?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe an hour. Oh. Yeah. I mean, it took a while to rehearse, you know, because we had to learn the song and whatnot. But by the time we were in there and ready to go, it didn't take that long. And of course, like most of the time, our amazing set builders, they built a little boat, you know, which was dimensionally accurate. But it wasn't a boat; it was just pipes, you know. But the pipes that we had oars, and I was rowing the boat. They were just steel pipes. But we're sat in this boat on the ground. It's not in the water. But we were all singing away our songs, and it was wonderful. It was really nice.
Yeah, the songs are very funny too. The lyrics.
Yeah. They all got songs accurate to that time period, apparently. Laszlo, who you may remember he's one of the radio DJs in the Grand Theft Auto series, and he'd been working. He was a long Rockstar employee. He was in charge of most of the music selection, and he got some pretty accurate stuff. And they changed a few of the lyrics. You know, instead of it being New Orleans, they changed it to Saint Denis or something. But apart from that, it was pretty much accurate to the time. All the music they chose, yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, so what is your worst memory from the set of Red Dead Redemption 2? If you don't have a bad memory, what was the most challenging thing that you had to do, the most difficult part of your Red Dead experience?
Oh, man. Well, I remember what was very challenging was, as I said before, we would often act out scenes, much like you would on film or TV. But, when you're on a performance capture set for a video game, there's different needs than, say, on a film set. And one of the biggest differences is the animators, they have a certain list of requirements that they need to get through. So oftentimes, let's say, for example, how you can blend in now, how they do this amazingly thing now, where you blend in from a cutscene into gameplay and a gameplay into cutscenes, and it's done seamlessly. Well, one of the ways that they make that look seamless is that we, the actors, would have to be in a very specific physical position at the beginning or end of a scene, so that the animators could make it possible, so that it would just look like nothing was happening between gameplay and cutscene. So very often we would have to hit a very, very specific physical position at the end of a scene, so that the animators would be able to actually use the take. That was tricky. But after a couple of years, you got used to it. And then doing Arthur's deaths, that was challenging too, because I knew that was coming for years. For years, I knew that Arthur wasn't going to make it. And when those scenes finally came up on the shot list, it was like saying goodbye to a character that I had been working on for almost half a decade at that point. So it was a little nerve-wracking, and I just wanted to do him justice,
Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Did you get emotional when he passed away?
The first, Arthur has 4 different endings, right?
Yeah.
So there's a high, low honor version of helping John, and then there's a high and low honor version of going back to the camp for the money. So the first death we did for Arthur was high honor helping John, which I think most people get, where Arthur dies peacefully on top of the mountain looking at the sun. I think it's the sunset, or is it the sunrise? I don't remember.
It's the sunrise, the first one.
The sunrise, yeah. So that was the first one that I did, and I did get a little emotional on that one. But after I got the first one out of my system, I was able to concentrate a little bit more professionally on the other 3, which isn't to say that it wasn't as good or anything, but it was that first one. I remember getting the lines about a week in advance and, working on it. And I was very nervous to say goodbye to Arthur. But once I did it once, it was easier to do it the other 3 endings. It was a little...
Which ending do you think he deserves most?
Oh, definitely. It's got to be high honor helping John. It's called Red Dead Redemption, right? The redemption, it's in the title. So I think Arthur... The fact that Arthur tries to be a better man before the end comes, I think that's where his redemption lies. And one of the ways he does that is that he saves John so that his family have a chance, He tries to, at least. Yeah. He postpones the inevitable, I guess.
It's kind of useless what he does, actually. He doesn't really change anything. He wants to, and he does everything in his power to, but then he doesn't. And even
makes it more
with Jack,
tragic, doesn't it?
Yeah, he still ends up with the same tragic ending.
Yeah, it's real tragic. Yeah, and I've read articles and everything saying like nobody remembers Arthur. Yeah. His legacy isn't remembered because anyone who does remember it either A, doesn't want to talk about it, or B, is dead. So it's like this epic story that gets forgotten, except everyone who plays the game, of course. It's fiction, so yeah.
Hopefully they find a way to mention Arthur if they ever remake Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah, everyone's talking about that now. I think they're more excited. Everyone's talking about a remaster for some of the GTA games. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be pretty cool. Although, there is a little bit of a disjoint, I guess, that Arthur isn't mentioned in Red Dead Redemption, and of course we know why. It's because while they were doing it, Arthur Morgan didn't exist. one of the reasons I like the writers were so talented that they kind of explained it in a somewhat satisfactory way in the epilogue. When John says, I don't like to talk about him much.
Yeah.
Because it hurts. It hurts him. So I think that's one of the reasons you can explain away why Arthur isn't referred to in Red Dead 1.
Yeah, that's the best explanation they could come up with. That's the best kind of excuse.
Yeah. Or do the remaster and, get Rob Wiedoff in the booth again to add a bit of dialogue, yeah. Who knows? I don't, that's for sure. Before you ask. Even if I did know, I would say I didn't know. You gotta... The secrecy in gaming is so vital, We don't want the fans to we don't want any spoilers for the fans. We don't want to get it ruined,
What was your favorite mission and what was your least favorite mission?
Oh, that's a good one. There are a lot. My favorite mission, one of my favorites, is definitely going up to Braithwaite Manor with the gang. Sure. That was pretty cool. And I like storming Bronte's mansion too. Obviously, the end. I wouldn't say that's my favorite, but it's definitely one of the most moving. My least favorite mission. Gosh, that's hard. I'm just trying to think. There isn't much. There really isn't much. I'm trying to think what I was stuck on. I don't really know. My least favorite mission, I guess it would be breaking Mike out of jail. And some of the debt collecting missions too. Not to do. I loved all of it, but as a gamer, as I was playing the story, the debt collection missions are a little bit of I wouldn't say grind, but you know that this is going to be Arthur's undoing as you're doing it, which is kind of torture.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, one of the hardest parts of doing the whole game, though, that was crouch running. I did everything you see Arthur do was me, except for major stunts. I did everything. So when you see him walking, it's me. When you see him getting off and on a horse, it's me. When you see him crouching and running, that's me. And I was doing that for a couple of days. Oh my gosh, we did it for like a day or two. Because first you have to crouch run with nothing, then you have to crouch run with one gun, then you have to crouch run with two guns, then you have to crouch run with a rifle, then you have to crouch run with a shotgun, and by that point your thighs are done. They're just done.
Oh my god. Well, you weren't actually holding real guns, right? You were holding...
Not a real gun, but we would... replicas. Yeah, the weight was the exact same,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we would carry replica guns so that it would, Rockstar don't screw around. They really are. Their attention to detail is unparalleled in my experience.
Exactly. Okay. What was your favorite quote from Arthur Morgan? Was there any of his dialogues that will always stay with you? And you would use them in your life?
Oh, I don't know if there's anything I say of Arthur in my life. People ask me to scream out Lenny all the time. But I remember...
I'm actually going to ask you later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's no surprise. When I first started working with Rob Wiedoff, when he came over and started working on Red Dead 2, that was pretty cool because at that point I was a massive John Marston fan, so I was really excited to meet him and maybe a little intimidated too, but he quickly put that to bed because he's such a nice guy. But one of the things that Arthur says to John early on, back, when there's a bit of a sibling rivalry going on between them, and Arthur's a little bit resentful towards John because, he up and left the gang for like a year after Jack was born.
Yeah.
Because he was a younger version of the John Marston that we know. He was a bit of a scared younger man. Which is awesome because you get to see him become and develop into the John Marston that we all know and love. But there's something Arthur says to him then. It's just before they go on that sheep stealing mission, I think. And he says, yeah, listen to me. I was a prize pony once, but this life, this way, well, we're the last, I reckon, and we ain't long for it. So Arthur knows that their time is running out. And I think that's one of the biggest or one of the main sources of conflict within the entire game, you know, and within the entire story is half the gang sees the writing on the wall. They know that the Pinkertons and eventually all their actions are going to catch up with them, and they know that time's coming to an end, and the other half refuse to admit that, and I think that's what splits the gang up eventually.
Yeah. They actually made my eyes a bit teary when you spoke as Arthur Morgan. Wow, that was unbelievable.
Some people say I sound like him.
You do, just a bit. Okay, Arthur Morgan was supposed to have a couple of love interests, and apparently the main story was going to be 5 hours longer. Is there any information you can give us about the parts that were cut out?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know if Arthur was going to have a major love interest. There was some stuff that was cut. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was cut. I do remember that there was one version that, you know, was gone very, very early on in the game where Arthur had a girlfriend at the beginning of the game, and they had a child that freezes to death whilst they're trying to find the camp in Coulter. It wasn't even called Isaac at this stage. It was just a baby. I'm not even sure if it was Isaac. It evolved into Isaac years later. But at one of the first days, they were experimenting, you know. But I don't honestly know whether or not Arthur was intended to have a love interest. You know, when you have TB, it can be a little bit weird, I guess. If you're romantically involved with someone, you know, there could be a bit of a moral conundrum as to whether or not you're going to infect someone else and put a death sentence on them.
Yeah.
So I can't honestly comment on that. You know, there was some stuff that was cut. I don't remember it, to be honest. It is getting on a bit now, but I think when we started out the game, there was a very basic skeletal structure to the story, and it evolved as time went by, as the writers saw what worked and what didn't, and what the actors responded to and what they didn't respond to. And, you know, one of the great talents of Rockstar, especially with the writing, was that they didn't paint themselves into a corner by rigidly having a script at the beginning. You know, they were kind of loose about it, and they let it evolve naturally as we were working, you know. So some things did get cut, but those were the things that they weren't that good anyway.
Okay. You said you played Red Dead Redemption 2 yourself, right? And I know that you were trying to 100% the whole thing a while ago. I saw it on an interview.
Yeah.
Have you found Gavin? Can one even find him?
No one's found him yet. No,
yeah.
Not to my knowledge. No one's found Gavin yet.
Is he even findable? Can one even find him?
I don't think so. I mean, if no one's found, I mean, it's been out, what, over 2.5 years?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that Chiliad mystery thing with GTA 5. Who knows, man? You know, 20 years from now, somebody might find him. I wouldn't put it past Rockstar to just, in one patch, just to slip it in there somewhere, you know, and go, oh my gosh, I find. But, you know, aren't we all looking for Gavin in a way? Isn't his search for Gavin a metaphor for life?
That was deep. Okay, who do you see as the hero and the villain of Red Dead Redemption 2?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I mean, the hero, I guess it would be Arthur, I guess. I mean, he's the protagonist, so... but the villain is a much trickier question, you know? Dutch is so complicated, and he, for most of the story, isn't a villain. You know, we see him as a villain in the first Red Dead Redemption, but Red Dead 2 is more about his journey to how he got there, and the beginning of Red Dead 2, he's certainly not a villain. Micah is a rat, and although he certainly is a villain, I don't know if he's the main villain. You know, there's so much conflict in the game that has nothing to do with Micah. People like Milton and the Pinkertons and Cornwall, even, you know. there are so many different villains. It's hard to put a pin on saying who is the main one. I guess industrialization, maybe? I don't know. Maybe industrialization is the villain, as it erodes away at the lifestyle, at the romantic lifestyle of these outlaws, which wasn't romantic at all, but you know, at many points in the game, it may feel that way. That's, I guess, the whole kind of Western genre. That's the whole ethos of the Western genre, is the romanticism of just riding off into sunset, and people like Cornwall who just want to build and exploit. They're the enemies of that. Maybe that's what the villain is. I don't know. I am getting quite deep, aren't I? I just gotta lighten up now.
That was the best answer I've heard so far. I liked it, yeah. It is true, yeah. Do you see Arthur as a good person?
Oh, now that's a good question. And I can't answer it, because it depends on the player. You know? It depends on the player whether he's a good person or not. I mean, you could have the lowest honor ever, and he still does good things. That's some missions you can't help but do good things, but it totally depends on the player whether or not Arthur is a good person or not. And that's the beauty, is that the freedom that Rockstar gives the player is pretty cool, I think. That we don't have, you know, the answer is whatever you want him to be, I guess.
Yeah, but even if you're high honor and you try not to do anything wrong in the game, not to kill, not to steal, and try to help other people out, you still have to kill sometimes, and you still have to do something.
Oh yeah,
illegal things along the way.
Absolutely, and vice versa. Even if you're trying to be an absolute bastard, you still have to do the odd good deed. Yeah. And I think that's people in general. I mean, that's what people have. People are complicated, and each and every one of us is capable of good and capable of bad. And I don't think Rockstar shies away from that. Arthur's capable of good, and he's capable of bad. And you know, we have the choice, both as ourselves and as the player, you know, whether we do good or bad. And most of us, like most people, we do both sometimes. We try to do good. Every once in a while we'll screw up, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Who are your favorite characters apart from Arthur himself, and why?
Well, I really like Charles Smith. You know, he's loyal, and he's a badass. Yeah. He's tough as nails. I really like him, and he's quite stoic too. That's a philosophy I could always get behind. Some of them really make me laugh, like the incestuous brother and sister who run the pig farm. They're hilarious.
They are. I love Arthur's face when he realizes who they are, what they are to each other.
Yeah. And the guy, those two, you can sell cattle to them. There's I forget their names. That's Lee and Clem, I think. And one of them, they're twin brothers, but one of them's knocks a little silly, so he doesn't speak, and the other one speaks for him all the time. They make me laugh. There's so many amazing characters. I think Charles Smith is my favorite, though, and I love everyone in the gang too. Obviously, Dutch is such a wonderful, complicated character, masterfully done by Ben. John Marston is awesome. Sadie Adler, we see her go from this mournful, grieving widow to a complete badass bounty hunter. That's pretty cool. And
yeah,
a lot of great characters.
How about Micah?
Even Micah is interesting. Yeah. He's an engaging character too. I mean, it's really hard to have no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and just to make you hate him. And Mike is that's for sure.
If you could meet Arthur before the events of Red Dead Redemption 2 and give him one single advice, what would it be and why?
I would tell him to put on a mask when he's doing debt collecting missions.
Yeah, true. That's the best. Yeah. What's your favorite Easter egg from the game?
Oh, wow. I don't know if I know all of them, but the UFO is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The meteorites. I think the UFO. There's also one bit that scared the living bejesus out of me when you're in the swamp. And, you know, those night folk, the ones that just are totally quiet and just run at you with knives.
Yeah.
And they set up a trap for you with this woman who's just moaning and weeping, and you go up and see what's wrong with her, and then she pulls a knife on you. That terrified me. I don't know. Oh, another really good Easter egg is when you find. You remember the guy with the top hat in the first Red Dead Redemption? The guy who says, "I know
Strange
you."
Man, yeah.
The strange man. When you can find his cabin in Red Dead 2. And if you go back to, and if you constantly visit it throughout the story of the game,
the painting,
you see his self-portrait develop and become more. That was cool.
Yeah, that was the most cool. Interesting one. And there's also a lot of lines and like poems around the house that talks about Arthur's life and the events of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us something about something very interesting about Redemption 2 that most people don't know about, that you haven't said in any interview yet?
No, not really. No. I could show you something if you want to see.
Yes, please.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
They let me keep these after I finished working on Red Dead Redemption 2. And these are Arthur Morgan's boots.
Oh my God.
These were the boots that I wore the whole 5 years, actually, as Arthur Morgan. And you can still see the motion capture balls.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks what we did was voice acting. And it was. A very small part of it was. But no, every day we got into performance capture, and I actually walked in Arthur's boots. Everything you see him do in the game was me. And those were the boots that I wore, and I was able to keep them after we finished. Rockstar let me keep them.
That's amazing. Thanks a lot. They must be pretty smelly, right?
They're not so bad now. I haven't worn them in years. They just smell like leather now.
Thanks. Okay, so question about that. You have a background in theater and you spent years doing motion capture, both of which, in my opinion, can be much more difficult than acting on TV or the big screen, since you have to be aware of the movement of your entire body. My question is, which do you find more difficult, and which one do you find more fun and entertaining to you personally?
Well, I think they all have different challenges. I wouldn't say that one is better or harder than the other. They're just all different ways to perform. Personally, having started out in theater, I find it very difficult to perform a character using just my voice. I find it a specific challenge, because normally I would like to physicalize a character. I'd like to experiment how that character moves and walks, and sometimes you can find so many little nuances and details about a character just when you explore their movement. And oftentimes when we're just voice acting, we don't have that opportunity because we're in a booth. Sometimes you're not even given the script very far in advance, and you don't have time to memorize it, so you're just reading it off the page. I find voice acting an incredible challenge because you only have one tool at your disposal to create a character, which is your voice. Well, that and your life experience as an actor and everything as well, but you only got your voice to come up with a believable, truthful character. That I find very challenging, but it's a fun challenge. But I love theater. That's where I started out, and that's what I think is my favorite. And the reason why is because you learn in real time what does and doesn't work. The audience, they either clap or they don't. They either laugh or they don't. They're the best teacher.
Yeah.
And they're right there. So there's no filter between you and them. You can learn how to be a good actor if you listen to your audience. And if the audience is right in front of you, well, then you've got no excuses,
Obviously, you knew that the Red Dead series and Rockstar games are crazy popular. But did you expect such a huge reaction to the game and to the character of Arthur Morgan?
No. I'll tell you what I honestly was hoping for. all I was hoping for was them not to hate Arthur for not being John Marston. I thought, I knew how popular John Marston was, I knew how popular Red Dead Redemption was, and I knew how difficult it was going to be to kind of fill John Marston's shoes. And then, that's why early on I decided, I wasn't even going to try. You can't out John Marston. So I just kind of had to do my own thing. So I just hoped that people weren't going to hate the game, I was aiming for people to tolerate Arthur. As long as we sold as many as the first Red Dead, I would have been happy. And as long as people didn't hate Arthur because he wasn't John, then I would have been happy. But what happened was a little bit more than that. And, I'm just very grateful. I'm very grateful that so many people appreciated the work of my colleagues and I. It was a massive, massive investment of time and energy and tears and all that. And the fact that it's enjoyed by so many is very rewarding. Very, very rewarding. You can't ask for more as an actor. You really can't.
Has Red Dead Redemption 2 changed your life in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Before Red Dead 2, I was just an actor. Nobody knew who I was. And they still don't. But, I mean, there's quite a subculture that knows Arthur and me. And that's, absolutely changed my life. Before Red Dead, I was very, very much just scraping by as a working actor. I started out a family. I was terrified. How am I going to provide for my children and what have you? So when I got the contract then with Rockstar, it was such a blessing and I was so grateful. And then when it lasted as long as it did, that gratitude just multiplied year after year. And then, the opportunities that came after the game was released have, definitely been life-changing. Absolutely. Very grateful.
Is it true that you used to be an archaeologist?
No, I was never an archaeologist, but I did excavate archaeological tombs with archaeologists. When I was started off 19, 20 years old and I was in college, we excavated a few tombs not that far from my house in Ireland, some megalithic tombs. They're really old, older than the pyramids. Like Bronze Age, Iron Age type tombs. And so I did that for a couple of summers, but I was just doing the digging, I was doing the donkey work. And then the archaeologists and the students would come along with the toothbrush and trowels, and they're like, okay, Roger, go lift something heavy somewhere else, But every once in a while, we would come across some bones and some old relics, like a couple of feet underground. It was fascinating. It was really fascinating.
Okay, what do you think about the archaeological Easter eggs in Red Dead Redemption 2, like the Viking tomb and all that?
Oh, yeah, I did. The Viking tombs, I don't think... Is that up in the mountains? I know you can find a helmet. And then there's that lady that whole side quest with the bones. That's hard finding all them. I did see the mission where you finally complete it, though, and that crazy contraption she built up. That was hilarious. But yeah, such a big and detailed map. Finding stuff is hard. Really hard.
It is.
I don't think I haven't actually completed that side mission.
But they made the whole map, I know it's huge, but they made it so interesting and dynamic that you wouldn't actually find it boring going throughout the whole map. Every step of the way something interesting is happening and you just find new stuff. Yeah. It's really, really lovely.
I think GTA 5 is a bigger map. I think it's a bigger map, but you're also in a car that's driving 90 miles an hour, so I think there's more detail in the Red Dead 2 map. I think there's more detail, albeit it is smaller,
What can you tell us about Bunker, your new horror movie? Is there a release date for it yet?
No, there isn't. I think it's expected maybe end of next year, maybe early 2023. I was filming it in Buffalo. I'm surprised you asked that. I was filming it in Buffalo. I've got a very small part. It's just a cameo. I don't want to spoil it, but The director is this really cool guy, a really cool friend of mine, a fellow by the name of Adrian Langley. I don't know if it's called Bunker yet. They don't know what it's going to be called yet, but it was terrifying. And, World War I is such an awesome atmosphere to do a horror.
Yeah.
And, I just hope that people like it when it comes out. It was a hoot to work on. It was a real hoot to work on. And the main cast, I was able to work with them for a day, and those guys are solid. And I think it's going to be really cool when it comes out. Yeah.
Nice. Looking forward. Is there anything you can tell us about your future projects?
Well, I can tell you that there are a few in the pipeline. I can't talk about most of them, but yeah, there's Bunker coming out. I also have a short film coming out that I produced. Looking forward to that. It's called Hazardous. Okay. That's a bit of a thriller. Watch out for my social media and whatnot. I was working with one of the showrunners on this upcoming show that's coming out on Epix called Chapelwaite. I'm just plugging his show now. But yeah, I was working with him on that, and we were very excited to release that. We're in post on that now. We're editing now. And a few video games coming up, most of which I can't talk about, but I can talk about one. There's a small indie studio coming out of Wales, very talented group of people run by Ella. It's called Thryg and we're working on a game called Lunavan, where I play an Irish rabbit.
Oh,
so it's a bit of a departure from Arthur, and it's a young adults game. It's based on Welsh mythology, and I think it's pretty cool. And Brian Deckard is involved from Detroit Become Human, and he's better known now for his Twitch thing, I guess. He's got a massive Twitch gaming channel. Him and his wife Amelia are both in it. Amelia as well, in her own right, amazing actor.
Do you have a small part, or is it a big one?
It's a significant supporting part.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a departure from Arthur too. So I think I'm looking forward to Arthur fans being able to see a different side to the guy who played him.
Okay. Is it true that you're gonna be in the next God of War game?
No. I'm not in the next God of War game. Everybody, you know where that rumor came out from?
Yeah,
Santa Monica were advertising jobs. They were saying we're looking for workers. And I get so many messages like, "Hey Raj, how do I get into gaming? How do I get into gaming?" Like whenever I see a major studio advertise that they're looking for hiring people, I always share those recruitment announcements. I always do that when I see them. So I did that for Santa Monica, and the next thing I know, I'm Thor. I mean, it's crazy, the speculation that you see online. No, I'm not involved in the next God of War. No.
Okay. Okay.
And I know that I could literally tell you that, and I know there's probably hundreds of people screaming now saying he's totally in the next God of War. But, time will tell. I'm genuinely not. I'm genuinely not.
Okay. I'll do my best to believe you. So far, only a few characters from story mode have made an appearance in Red Dead Online. Will Arthur ever come to Red Dead Online?
Oh, I don't know. No idea.
Okay.
It's set a year before the story, so I guess it's possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. No idea.
What does Sonny really do to Arthur?
Oh gosh.
What happens?
I think we all know, don't we? Man, I'm so lucky because going back to talking about the Rob Weedoff, myself and Rob Weedoff shared the side missions. He would do the mocap for one, I would do the mocap for another, and then we would record each other's dialogue. He did the mocap for that, so I didn't even do that. I did the dialogue as Arthur. But I didn't have to act it out with that fella. And that's why Rob Weedoff is a real trooper. I don't know what happens between them, but I do think that whatever does happen, it's a very intimate moment, and I think that your man really enjoyed it.
Did you know there's a hidden dialogue in the camp from Bill Williamson a while after that, and he goes, "There, I met a guy in the bayou." He was saying, "Yeah, he spent the night with you or something." That's really funny.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah.
Okay, so you did the voice for that part, but John Marston
Rob did the motion capture for it. Yeah. Because that happened a lot with the side missions. Because, side missions like that, they could be done, depends, they could be done by Arthur or they could be done by John. It depends when you choose to do them in the game.
Yeah.
So a lot of those ones we shared, and then we would ADR each other's performance. So he did that one. Thankfully. Like for example, the sibling pig farmers.
Yeah.
I did the performance capture for that. But
Okay.
if you wait until the epilogue to do it, you'll do it as John. So then Rob, he put his dialogue on it in those instances. But it's my mocap. And that's one of the reasons I think I got cast too, is that myself and Rob, he's a little thinner than me now, but when we started the project, we were of a very similar build, same size. So it was easier for the animators to make it a little bit, they could use Rob's mocap for Arthur and they could use my mocap for John if they had to. Made it a little easier.
How do companies like Rockstar decide the language of the subtitles to add to the games? How do they decide what language subtitles they're going to add to the game? And what can we do to have Persian subtitles added to the next game?
I know.
Because we really need it.
I know. I genuinely have absolutely nothing to do with it, and I don't know the answer to that question. I know you guys really, really, you deserve it too. You should get your Persian subtitles. There should be Arabic subtitles. I'm just, I know it would open up so much more of an audience over in Iran. So many more people would be able to enjoy it. At the moment, you all have to be learning English and whatnot. And I honestly have no idea. I'm not involved in that aspect whatsoever. But I hope you guys get your Persian subtitles soon.
Hopefully.
If not on Red Dead, then on upcoming projects too. Because I know you're a significant portion of gaming in the gaming community, at least from what I can see. And you guys definitely should deserve that.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Is there a chance that Red Dead Redemption 3 will be a prequel and we get to see a younger Arthur?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. I have no idea.
Would you tell us if you had any ideas?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, can you say Lenny, please?
Lenny! I peeked there. Let's do it a little. Lenny! There you go. That was a loud one.
Awesome.
That was a loud one.
Yeah. Can you please pretend that you're talking to your horse and telling him how much of a good boy he is?
You're all right, boy. Good boy. Yeah, good boy.
Can you please say, you got some money for me, boy? I've seen your name in our ledger.
You got some money for me, boy? I've seen your name in our ledger.
Can I teach you some Persian phrases which you repeat as Arthur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Well, as long as I'm not saying anything rude, I'll have to trust you.
Of course. Well, one of them is Micah is a rat. That's not considered rude, is it?
Fair enough. I'll say that. No problem.
Okay. Micah ye mushe.
Micah Yamusha.
Baba barikalla. That means good on you. Baba barikalla.
Can you say it again? Bada Calio.
Baba
Calio. Boy. I'm making a dog's dinner of your language. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Baba barikalla.
Baba Calio.
That was almost perfect. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like to say anything to me and your Iranian fans as Arthur?
Oh, as Arthur, I just want to say you're all... And thank you so much for all of your support and your appreciation. I love you guys. Salam alaikum. You guys are awesome. I hope we were over in Kuwait, and I've worked a bit in Bahrain. It wasn't anything Red Dead related, but
yeah.
I love that part of the world. I love the hospitality. I love the food. and I love how, you know, just the grace of all the people there. I've always had a wonderful time, and I just want to thank you all. And I hope one day our paths will cross.
Hopefully, we would all love for you to come to our country. Anything you want, free of charge. Anything, even your tickets, everything. That's a promise. That's a promise right there. And I would like to say on behalf of myself,
there's that hospitality again.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, sir. Everything. That's not even just a gesture. It's a promise right there. Whenever you want to come to Iran, just let me know. Give me a couple of months, and I'll organize everything for you and your family.
Thank you.
And I would like to say on behalf of myself and all your Iranian fans that we all love you, Roger Clark, Arthur Morgan. We will cherish you and hope that we keep hearing and seeing you in our favorite games. I really had a great time. I hope you enjoyed yourself too. Thank you so much. It is such a great honor for me to be able to have this chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Puya, and thank you to everyone who's watching, and I love you guys too. Thanks for all of your appreciation, not just of my work, but all of the people. It literally took a village, a small village to do, you know, thousands of people from across the world to make that game, and the fact that you all love it so much means the world to us. Thank you. Thanks for having me.